Synchronicity. Concept of meaningful coincidence. Synchronicity is one of Carl Gustav Jung's most profound and influential concepts, describing a principle that connects seemingly unrelated events in a meaningful way. Unlike conventional notions of causality, which assume that one event directly causes another, synchronicity suggests that certain coincidences occur outside the framework of cause and effect, yet hold deep personal or universal significance. Jung introduced this idea to explain phenomena where inner psychological states appear to align with external occurrences, producing what he called meaningful coincidences. We will explore the origins, theoretical foundations, psychological implications, and broader applications of synchronicity. It will examine Jung's collaboration with physicist Wolfgang Pauli, the relationship between synchronicity and archetypes, and how this principle intersects with fields such as quantum mechanics, Eastern philosophy, and contemporary psychology. Finally, it will assess the criticisms of Jung's theory and its ongoing relevance in modern thought. Jung's interest in synchronicity emerged from his clinical work and deep exploration of mythology, dreams, and the unconscious. He was particularly intrigued by cases where patients reported uncanny coincidences between their thoughts and external events. One famous example that helped shape his theory occurred during a therapy session with a woman who was describing a dream about a golden scarab. At that moment, Jung heard a tapping at the window and, upon opening it, found a beetle closely resembling a golden scarab. This event, which Jung perceived as highly improbable yet symbolically significant for the patient's psychological transformation, led him to develop the idea of synchronicity. In formulating his theory, Jung drew from a variety of influences, including ancient wisdom traditions, alchemy, and cutting-edge developments in physics. He saw synchronicity as an alternative to deterministic, mechanistic views of reality, proposing instead a world where events could be connected not by causality but by meaning. Jung formally introduced synchronicity in the 1950s, particularly in his work Synchronicity, an acausal connecting principle, 1952, where he described it as a meaningful coincidence of two or more events where something other than the probability of chance is involved. He identified three key aspects of synchronistic events. 1. Meaningful coincidence events that are not causally linked but share profound symbolic meaning. 2. Simultaneity or temporal proximity. The events must occur at the same time or within a short period. 3. Psychological relevance. The experience must hold significant meaning for the individual or collective psyche. Jung contrasted synchronicity with traditional notions of causality. In a deterministic framework, every event has a clear cause, leading to an effect. However, in synchronicity, the relationship between events is based on their symbolic or archetypal meaning rather than direct causation. Jung also linked synchronicity to his concept of the collective unconscious, a shared reservoir of archetypal images and symbols that influence human thought and behavior. He argued that synchronistic events often reflect archetypal patterns, manifesting as external signs that mirror inner psychological states. Archetypes are fundamental patterns or symbols embedded in the collective unconscious, shaping human experiences across cultures and epochs. According to Jung, archetypes can surface in synchronistic events, reinforcing their symbolic significance. For example, an individual going through a major life transition may repeatedly encounter symbols of transformation, such as butterflies or phoenix imagery in dreams, books, or random conversations. These occurrences suggest that an archetype is at play, guiding the individual's psychological process. Jung believed that synchronistic events often arise during periods of psychological crisis or spiritual awakening, when the unconscious attempts to communicate messages through external reality. This aligns with his broader theory of individuation, the lifelong process of integrating the unconscious and conscious aspects of the self. Jung and Wolfgang Pauli, the intersection of psychology and physics. Jung's collaboration with Wolfgang Pauli, a Nobel Prize-winning physicist, helped refine the concept of synchronicity by incorporating insights from quantum mechanics. Pauli, deeply influenced by Jungian psychology, sought to reconcile scientific and psychological perspectives on reality. One of their key discussions revolved around the principle of complementarity in quantum mechanics, which suggests that particles can exhibit both wave-like and particle-like behavior depending on the observer's interaction. Jung saw this as a parallel to synchronicity, where reality appears interconnected in ways that transcend classical notions of causality. Pauli also explored the role of numbers as archetypal structures, proposing that mathematical patterns might be fundamental organizing principles of both the physical and psychic realms. This idea resonated with Jung's belief that the psyche and material reality are not entirely separate but interwoven within a larger, unified field. Jung frequently drew parallels between synchronicity and Eastern philosophies, particularly Taoism and Buddhism. He was especially fascinated by the I Ching Book of Changes, an ancient Chinese divination system based on interpreting patterns in randomly cast symbols. The I Ching operates on the principle that events are interconnected through an underlying order, which Taoists describe as the Tao, or the Way. Jung saw strong parallels between this and synchronicity, as both suggest that meaningful patterns emerge from seemingly random occurrences. Buddhist concepts of karma and interdependent origination also align with synchronicity, as they emphasize the interconnected nature of existence beyond linear causality. Jung's appreciation for these traditions reinforced his belief that Western science's rigid cause-and-effect model was incomplete in explaining human experience. Synchronicity has found applications in various fields, including psychotherapy, creativity, and spirituality. In Jungian therapy, recognizing synchronistic events can provide insight into unconscious processes and validate personal transformation. Patients often report that meaningful coincidences help them trust their intuition and navigate life transitions. In creative fields, artists, writers, and musicians frequently describe moments of synchronicity that inspire their work. These experiences often involve unexpected connections between ideas, people, or events that seem orchestrated by an unseen force. Spiritual and mystical traditions also incorporate synchronicity into their frameworks, seeing it as evidence of divine guidance or universal intelligence. Many individuals who experience profound synchronicities interpret them as signs from the universe, reinforcing their spiritual beliefs. Despite its popularity, synchronicity has been met with skepticism, particularly from the scientific community. Critics argue that it lacks empirical support and relies on subjective interpretation rather than objective evidence. One common criticism is that humans have a tendency toward epiphania, or the perception of meaningful patterns in random data. Skeptics suggest that people who believe in synchronicity may be selectively noticing coincidences while ignoring countless unrelated events. Another challenge is the difficulty of proving synchronicity within the framework of conventional science. Unlike measurable physical phenomena, synchronicity operates on a symbolic and psychological level, making it resistant to controlled experimentation. However, Jung countered these criticisms by emphasizing that synchronicity is not meant to replace causality but to complement it, offering an alternative way of understanding reality. He believed that meaningful coincidences reveal underlying connections between the psyche and the external world, even if these connections cannot be fully explained by current scientific paradigms. Carl Jung's theory of synchronicity remains one of his most intriguing and influential contributions to psychology, philosophy, and spirituality. By proposing that meaningful coincidences arise from an underlying order beyond conventional causality, Jung challenged rigid scientific assumptions and invited a more holistic understanding of reality. Although synchronicity is difficult to prove scientifically, it continues to resonate with individuals who experience profound coincidences that shape their lives. Whether viewed through the lens of depth psychology, quantum physics, or spiritual experience, synchronicity offers a compelling framework for understanding the mysterious interconnectedness of existence. As research in consciousness studies, quantum theory, and transpersonal psychology evolves, Jung's concept of synchronicity may find new validation and applications, reinforcing its place as a bridge between the seen and unseen dimensions of reality. Jung's concept of synchronicity extends beyond psychology, influencing fields such as philosophy, neuroscience, literature, and even artificial intelligence. As we delve deeper into the subject, it becomes evident that synchronicity serves as a crucial link between the subjective human experience and objective reality. In this extended analysis, we will explore its historical antecedents, its presence in modern thought, and how recent developments in science and technology may provide new perspectives on this phenomenon. Although Carl Jung formally introduced the concept of synchronicity in the 20th century, the idea of meaningful coincidence has existed for centuries across various cultures and intellectual traditions. Ancient civilizations often interpreted coincidences as messages from the divine, omens, or signs of cosmic harmony. 1. Greek philosophy. The pre-Socratic philosopher Heraclitus introduced the idea of logos, an underlying order governing the universe. While he did not explicitly discuss synchronicity, his belief in an interconnected reality resonates with Jung's ideas. Similarly, Plato's concept of the anima mundi, world soul, suggests a unifying principle that links all events and beings. 2. Medieval and Renaissance thought. During the Middle Ages and the Renaissance, scholars like Paracelsus and Giordano Bruno explored the relationships between the macrocosm, the universe, and the microcosm, the individual, proposing that unseen forces link human experiences with cosmic events. Alchemists, whose ideas Jung studied extensively, often relied on symbolic correspondences rather than direct causality to explain transformations in both the material and spiritual realms. 3. Romanticism and the 19th century. The Romantic movement, particularly through the works of poets like William Blake and philosophers like Arthur Schopenhauer, emphasized the idea that reality is shaped by the subjective experience of individuals. Schopenhauer's notion of the world as will and representation suggested that the mind plays a fundamental role in shaping what we perceive as reality, aligning with Jung's later view that synchronicity reveals the deep interrelation between psyche and world. These historical precursors illustrate that the fundamental idea behind synchronicity, a reality governed by symbolic, rather than purely mechanical, connections, has been present throughout human intellectual history. While Jungian psychology remains the primary domain where synchronicity is discussed, modern neuroscience and cognitive science provide insights into how and why we perceive meaningful coincidences. From a neuroscientific perspective, the human brain is wired to detect patterns and assign meaning to events. This capacity for pattern recognition is essential for survival, helping humans identify threats, find resources, and predict outcomes. However, this same ability can lead to apophenia, the tendency to perceive connections where none exist, and confirmation bias, the tendency to favor information that aligns with pre-existing beliefs. Critics of synchronicity argue that many so-called synchronistic events result from these cognitive tendencies. However, Jung acknowledged that while some coincidences may be purely psychological projections, others carry a deeper, almost archetypal, significance. Modern psychology continues to explore how unconscious processes shape perception and decision-making. Jung believed that the unconscious mind operates on a level beyond personal experiences, tapping into the collective unconscious, which contains archetypal symbols shared across cultures. Recent studies in implicit cognition suggest that the unconscious mind can process vast amounts of information without conscious awareness. This aligns with Jung's idea that synchronicity may rise when unconscious knowledge manifests in external reality. For instance, a person contemplating a major life decision may unconsciously notice symbols, patterns, or phrases that guide them toward a resolution. Whether these signs are interpreted as mere coincidences or meaningful synchronicities depends on the individual's psychological framework. Jung's discussions with physicist Wolfgang Pauli laid the groundwork for considering synchronicity through the lens of modern physics. While the parallels between Jungian psychology and quantum mechanics remain speculative, they provide an intriguing perspective on how reality may be structured beyond traditional cause and effect relationships. One of the most well-known phenomena in quantum physics is entanglement, where two particles remain connected regardless of the distance between them. When one particle is altered, the other instantaneously reflects this change, defying classical notions of locality and causality. Some theorists suggest that synchronicity may operate similarly. Events or thoughts may be entangled in ways that transcend conventional time-space frameworks. While this idea remains controversial, it aligns with Jung's belief that synchronistic events reveal an underlying unity between the mind and the external world. Quantum physics also introduces the observer effect, where the act of observation influences the behavior of particles. This concept has led some scientists and philosophers to question whether consciousness plays a fundamental role in shaping reality. Jung's idea of synchronicity suggests that consciousness is not separate from the external world, but is intimately connected to it. If reality is, in part, shaped by perception, then meaningful coincidences may not be random but rather a reflection of an individual's psychic state interacting with an underlying, interconnected order. While there is no direct scientific evidence linking synchronicity to quantum mechanics, these parallels continue to fuel interdisciplinary discussions on the nature of reality. The concept of synchronicity has inspired numerous works of literature, film, and art, reflecting its deep resonance with human experience. 1. Literature. Writers such as James Joyce and Thomas Pynchon have incorporated synchronistic themes into their works, portraying reality as an interconnected web of symbols and coincidences. Joyce's Ulysses, for example, uses stream of consciousness narration to depict how seemingly random events hold deeper meaning. 2. Film and media. Many films explore synchronicity as a central theme, including The Matrix, 1999, which suggests that reality operates on a hidden, symbolic level, and Cloud Atlas, 2012, which portrays interconnected lives across different time periods. 3. Music and art. Artists and musicians frequently describe experiencing synchronistic moments that guide their creative process. The Surrealist movement, for instance, embrace the idea of subconscious connections shaping artistic expression. These cultural manifestations suggest that synchronicity is not merely a psychological phenomenon, but a fundamental aspect of how humans interpret and create meaning. As technology advances, new questions arise about the role of synchronicity in an increasingly interconnected world. 1. Artificial intelligence and synchronicity. Machine learning algorithms are designed to detect patterns in massive datasets. Some researchers speculate that future AI systems could help identify synchronistic patterns in human behavior, potentially offering new insights into how meaning emerges from seemingly random events. 2. The Internet and digital synchronicity. Many people report experiencing synchronistic moments through digital interactions, such as thinking about a topic and then seeing related content online. While some of this can be attributed to algorithms, it raises questions about whether the digital realm has become a new medium for meaningful coincidences. 3. Global consciousness and synchronicity. Projects like the Global Consciousness Project, which analyzes random number generators for anomalies during major world events, suggest that human collective consciousness may have measurable effects on reality. If such studies gain credibility, they could provide new ways to understand synchronicity on a collective scale. Despite scientific skepticism, Carl Jung's theory of synchronicity continues to inspire deep philosophical and psychological inquiry. Whether viewed as an aspect of the unconscious mind, a reflection of quantum interconnectedness, or a fundamental principle of reality, synchronicity challenges conventional notions of causality and meaning. As our understanding of consciousness, physics, and technology evolves, synchronicity may take on new dimensions, revealing deeper insights into the nature of human experience and the structure of reality itself. Jung's vision of a world where meaning transcends randomness remains a compelling framework for those seeking to understand the profound mysteries of existence.